All right, Shalom. I'd like to start off with saying Kal Halayim La Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, Ba'Shem Harikah Kudash Ma'amath. Double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone and my elder Helwan as well. Salutations to the occupant that are pushing this truth and sincerity and truth. And peace and blessings to the men, women, and children that believe in the name of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. All right, I'm Kanaksan Ban Yashar from the Lions in the Yashar camp. And I was just going through these articles through the Spirit to see what the Spirit led me to. See what I can come up with as far as doing a lesson. And I ran across this article right here, and it says headlines as United States has put itself and Russia on brinks of direct clash. And the apostles, a great millstone, my elder, and me as well, and other Akim in the camp have always been saying that this war between Russia and Ukraine is really a war between Russia and the West, meaning NATO and the United States. And there's more facts coming out daily, attaining to this matter, and it's really exposing it for what it really is. What you have happening is the United States, as it always does, paints a narrative and creates a story as if they're coming to be a hero to aiding to these other nations in the name of democracy, when it's really demonocracy. They bring people in, create go into these countries, put in their own regime, do the regime change thing, put in their own regimes, a puppet set up to where they could push their agendas throughout the whole earth. So, what sets up America as being the hammer of the whole earth. All right. So it says the Biden administration is lying about maintaining contacts between the two countries. The foreign ministry says, right. So, according to the narrative that the United States tries to paint, they try to paint this whole diplomatic approach to having peace talks between Russia, dealing with the situation in Ukraine. But from the source in Russia, Russian foreign minister, she says it's different, you know, and so she called America a flat out lie, you know. It says Washington's dangerous and short sight policy has put it on the brinks of a direct clash with Moscow. Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharov said on Monday, responding to United States Department spokesman Ned Price, who blamed Russia last week for making relations between the two countries unstable and unpredictable. All right, so yeah, so that's there you go. Same thing America does all the time, paints the narrative on how they want the world to view them as being the protector, or what's that movie, puppet movie, America, Team America World Police. And like that movie depicts it's funny, but it's a mockery type scene, but it really depicts how America really feels like the United States really feels like it's the world police, and they have to bring democracy or their ideology or their views on how people should live, and impose them on everybody, and claim it in the name of freedom. All right, changing people's historical background and their historical views on how we believe, like their historical customs. Like you know, shit. Over there in the land of Israel, they got Pink City, Tel Aviv. You know, and the scriptures speak against that. We're not gonna go into that what that is, but you know what I'm saying. As a matter of fact, we had a protest with the Proud Boys here in Jacksonville, Florida. Was it Sunday, yesterday? Dealing with the whole letter thing, but that's not what this is talking about. So going more into the article, it says Moscow has genuinely strived to make relations with the United States stable and predictable, even as Washington stokes tensions. Zakharov added. It is the United States' desire to maintain American hegemony, meaning they want to continue to be the hammer of the earth. But the Lord, Yahweh Shem Shai, is going to put an end to that. It says, it is the United States' desire to maintain American hegemony at all costs, as well as it is arrogant unwillingness to engage in a serious dialogue on security guarantees. All right. So now, the arrogancy, right? That's a strong word because Yahweh Shem Yahushua has something for the proud and the arrogant. All right. First scripture I want to get dealing with that is Isaiah, and we bring this out a lot dealing with the conflict between Russia and the United States. With this Isaiah chapter 13, verse 11, it says, "I will punish the world for their evil and the wicked for their iniquity. And I will cause the arrogancy of the proud to cease, and I will lay low the haughtiness of the terrible." All right, and that's what Yahweh Shema Shai has lined up for Babylon the Great and these other nations, because these other nations to think because they see Babylon fall that it's their turn to be lifted up. But just like how China is really being set up for that, but Yahweh Shema Shai has a trick for all these nations. It says Russia is calling on the administration of the United States President Joe Biden to avoid further escalation. Zakharov said, adding that Moscow still wants to defuse tensions and is open to talking to the United States at various levels. Yeah, at this moment they're open to talk about it, but according to these scriptures, that window is closing. That window of opportunity to discuss peacefully is closing, man. So, matter of fact, first let me get Ezekiel chapter 38, verse 10. It says, "Thus saith the Lord, it shall also come to pass that at the same time shall things come into thy mind, and thou shalt think an evil thought." Right. So now Russia is speaking peace right now, but at some point in time, the Lord's going to put an evil thought in their minds to take away that opportunity of peace and wage all out war against America and NATO. All right. Verse 11. It says, "And thou shalt say, I will go into the land of unwalled villages. I will go to them that are at rest, that dwell safely, all of them dwelling without walls and having neither bars nor gates." Right. And that's the spirit of the United States. They feel like nobody can touch them. All right. They feel like, they don't see themselves as sitting ducks. They feel like they're at ease. They're at well rested. They feel like who can come up against us. All right. And also that's the same thing with Revelations 13, saying who can make war with the beast, who is like unto the beast. And Yahweh by Shem Yahushai is raising up the spirit of the Medes, all right, the spirit raising up the Medes to come against Babylon. So basically Russia. So now, and they're going to think that thought to go to the land of unwalled villages, to them that feel like they dwell safely, Slakia. And from there I want to go to Isaiah 13 and 17, it says, "Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it." Right. So now there's going to be a point in time where there's not going to be any negotiations or anything that could be said or done to stop the conflict between Russia and America. All right. Because it's all according to the will of Yahweh by Shem Yahushai. So he's holding back the destruction because there's certain things that got to play out before all-out war, this Cold War, this proxy war between the United States, NATO, and Russia and allied countries becomes a physical all-out hot war. So this is Yahweh Shem Yahushai slowing things down for a minute for other things to come to pass. It says back to the article. It says Russia is calling on the administration of United States President Joe Biden to avoid further escalations, Zakharov said, adding that Moscow still wants to defuse tensions and is open to talking to the United States at various levels. Right, pretty soon that door of opportunity is going to be closed. However, the United States is openly lying about maintaining contacts with Russia. All right, Zakharov claimed. Last week, Prince said that the Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, still keeps in touch with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. Zakharov called that statement a banal lie, adding That last time the diplomats spoke was July 29th, and that's when things were getting real heavy over there. And he said himself, if I that first statement that he made was saying that this is no longer a war with Ukraine. This is Biden's war. That's what that around that time, if I because I did a lesson on it. That's what he was talking about. So last time they talked, he was talking about how America they feel like America waged war with them. So there's never been any peace talks between the United States and Russia dealing with the whole Ukraine matter. So even though America is still trying to do what it always does, paint the narrative to the world as them being the good guys, the saviors of humanity, the keepers of peace, Russia is exposing their true intent as to being the bullshit that they put in the air every single time. So now they're trying to win the minds of the people to say that this war needs to be had. It's for the freedom of Ukraine. But really, it's for the freedom of Russia. Those are Russians over there in Ukraine. Ukraine, that part of Ukraine was once a part of the Soviet Union. And that's exactly what's being restored unto Russia is the Soviet Union. It's all being done by Yahweh Shem Yahushua according to Ezekiel 38. All right, so back to the article. It says, amid the Russian military operations in Ukraine, Washington has provided massive amounts of financial and military aid to Kiev and has led the drive for sanctions on Moscow. So they're fighting it on board. They're adding supplies and funding to Ukraine while they're defunding by imposing harsh sanctions on Russia so they won't have the money to be able to afford to fight this war. So basically, that's the United States coming to the aid of Ukraine. It says, amid the Russian military operation in Ukraine, Washington has provided massive amounts of financial and military aid to Kiev and has led the drive for sanctions on Moscow, which also joined by United States allies in the European Union and elsewhere. All right, so now, but little does the United States know that the Lord Yahweh Shemel Shai has set a snare for them. Because those are the ones that are going to turn and hate the whore. All right. It says the conflict in Ukraine broke out after the United States rejected Russia's proposal for security guarantees in Europe, and that proposal was for NATO to stop continuing to move east into their territory. So, that's what the United States was doing the whole time, forcing Russia into war, knowing that that they're the provocation that caused them to go to war, and painting the narrative that Russia is the bad guy and that Russia invaded Ukraine. No, Russia was stopping NATO from annexing Ukraine into NATO, right? So they would have Russia completely surrounded at the back door. So Russia, in its vulnerability, had to do what? Attack and wage war to stop that from happening. But while the United States paints the narrative as, Russia had no means or no reasoning behind their attack on Ukraine, like it was just done out of thin air. Like, no, it was done to protect themselves. All right, it says it says the conflict in Ukraine broke out after the United States rejected Russia's proposal for proposals for security guarantees in Europe. All right, so now it says including a limit on NATO expansion to the east. That's the whole point. That's what this war was put there. That is the reason why Russia waged war in Ukraine, to stop the expansion of NATO to the east. It says Moscow reportedly warned that Ukraine potential membership in the U.S.-led military bloc would cross a red line, and that arming Kiev would only prolong the conflict. Right. So now they're waging a war against Russia. What they're trying to do is trying to stop Russia from becoming back into that powerhouse Soviet Union that it once was. But it's being brought back by Yahweh Shem Yahushua. All right. So I want to get one more scripture to close this out, because in the beginning, like, Russia was talking peace talks, trying to talk peace talks, but they weren't saying what United States and NATO wanted to hear. So they shunned that. They abhorred that. They didn't want to hear it. All right. So now they're boasting and puffing up against their enemies, and you know, and Russia is trying to create peace. Russia knows that as soon as the nuclear war kicks off, that's it. But they're going to get to that fed up point because the Lord's going to force them to. All right, got one more scripture to close it out. It's Psalms chapter 10, verse 3, and it says, "For the wicked boasts of his heart's desire." Right. So that's why they go from continent to continent, country to country, imposing their will on everybody. Because what? They're boasting of their heart's desire. And it says, "And blessed the covetous," right? Bless the ones that are going along according to their agenda. All right. But anything else that goes against that, they're going to destroy. While they feel their heart's desire. It says, "And bless the covetous, whom the Lord abhorreth." Right. So all of them are wicked, and the Lord's going to destroy all of them. It says, "The wicked, through his pride of his countenance, will not seek after Yahweh. Yahweh's not in his thoughts." Right. So the only thing that's in his thoughts is his own agenda. It says, "He has said in his heart, I shall not be moved, for I shall never be in adversity." Right. So the Lord, that's the mindset of America. They feel like they can do as they will. That's the whole spirit of America. Do as thy will. However, they said America wasn't stolen; it was conquered. So they feel like whatever they have their heart's desire set upon, if they're able to accomplish it, is theirs, no matter how they get it. All right, it's all done in wickedness. But, the Lord got a trick for all that, The Lord's going to put an end to the hammer of the earth. All right, Lord willing, this lesson to edify and serve his purpose. With that, I'd like to say, Ka Halayim La Yahweh, Ba Hashem Yahweh Shai, Ba Hashem Harakak Wadash Ma'amath. Double honors to the elder apostles, the great millstone, and my elder Heroine as well. Salutations to the Akin that are pushing the truth, to sincerity and truth, and peace and blessings to the men, women, and children that believe in the name of Yahweh Ba Hashem Yahweh Shai. Shalom.